Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That NextGen Planners Podcast with me, Amelia Hamilton, your head of community here at NextGen Planners. And I am not flying solo in this podcast anymore. I have my two wonderful co-hosts who join me every week to discuss interesting topics, all to do with things that interest you in financial planning. My first co-host is the wonderful Clara Metcalf.
Hi.
And my second is the excellent Taylor Beavis.
Hello.
And today we have the pleasure of being joined by two guests. We get double the fun this week, double the opinions, I'm sure. And those two brilliant guests are Sean and Vicki from Lightside Financial Planning.
Hello.
Hi there. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
A pleasure. Welcome to the podcast. And so to kind of kick things off and give our audience a bit of an idea of what you guys do and where you sit within the business. Sean, you're more on you are the financial planner at Lightside, and Vicki, you are the operations director. So I guess you will have different perspectives and opinions coming into this discussion today. But to start things off, could you just tell us what inspired you to start Lightside? Where did it begin, and what's that process been?
Yeah, so I'll start and I can introduce where Vicki came into the business in a moment. She can hand over. So how it kind of started, my background, I won't go into too much detail because we'll be here for a while, but my background was kind of always in sales previously, and then I worked in Lloyd's TSB. I was a non-regulated advisor, and then the bank had paid for me to be a financial advisor in the bank. I was made redundant in just pre-RDR. I think it was at the end of 2013, early 2014. I took the redundancy package and I joined St. James's Place, which obviously in hindsight, I was only there for about 6 months, realised wasn't the right position for me. Didn't really fully buy into the ethos, the culture, but kind of didn't really know much about the IFA industry, but knew I wanted to kind of progress it as a career. I enjoyed helping people. So I joined a small IFA firm over on the Wirral. They're not trading anymore. I think they've sold. So I joined them around about 2014. I was there for about 2.5 years, and then I ended up leaving them and joining a network. I wanted to go self-employed, set up on my own around about October 2016. I became just a regulated advisor, and then we set up as an appointed representative as SMC Financial Services in April 2017. I suppose the thing that inspired me, I've always been quite good at sales. I kind of wanted it to be my own business and things to be done my way. I think all the companies that I'd worked at, I'm one of these people who always kind of think, is there a better way, kind of challenge things? Oh, I think I could do that better. And I think you end up annoying your boss that much. You're thinking, do you know what, I'm just going to go and do it. Let me go and kind of create my way of doing things. And I think that's where Lightside was born. So yeah, in regards to how Vicki joined the business, I'll let Vicki bring that in.
Yeah, so we're a couple, so we work together, but we're a partnership at home as well. So it was sort of, I got made redundant around the sort of same time as Sean, and my background is in compliance, is in operations, process improvements. And when Sean said he wanted to start up, I thought, well, I'll come along for the journey and sort of support him with the compliance side. But I think the as Sean mentioned, sort of the initial vision and the inspiration was to just do it better. Sean has worked for a few firms where the compliance wasn't great, the processes weren't great, and I think we both had sort of this inspiration that we could do it our way and better, and that's why we started.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, what's kind of interesting there is there's quite a few parallels between Lightside and with you, Taylor, I guess, in how you started and what your goals and aims were too.
Yeah, I was really interested in what you were just saying. Well, firstly, well done on what a journey that's been. So we're kind of similar in terms of length of running an advice business, and what you've said is really interesting because it's kind of similar as well from my side of things. I'm really interested to start with, if you don't mind me touching on this, Sean and Vicki working together as a couple. Where does work stop and family start? How do you do that? How do you keep good boundaries to work and home life?
I think that's a really, really good question, Taylor. I think it's one that Vicki's had to kind of push back and challenge me and remind me on quite a lot. I think because I'd probably class myself as the visionary within the company. I was the founder, but we've got 3 children, and I'm a bit of I am probably a bit of a workaholic. So For many, many years, I was kind of working very, very late each night. We were talking about it of an evening, talking about it of a weekend. It was a real passion of mine, more so mine than Vicky's. But I think over time, I kind of realised that basically we needed to kind of put a boundary in place. So we're a lot better now through well-being and things that we did. And I went on to a men's retreat about almost 2 years ago now, called Men Without Masks, because I was close to burnout. We'd actually bought a business in August 22, and it was obviously very, very overwhelming. We'd already had a lot of clients. We didn't need any more growth. We didn't need any more clients. And Vicky did say to me a few times, "Where's your ceiling? What is it exactly that you're chasing? When will enough be enough?" And it's never for me been about the money. It's always been about the drive and the success and how far can it take this business. But then it reaches a point where it goes past enjoyment, and it does become obviously quite a stressful time. Luckily, we did get through that time, obviously going through the retreat. And we have a much better work-life balance now, and the children are a bit older. But I'll let Vicky give her view on the matter.
Yeah, I think obviously Sean really passionate, really, really inspired to create positive change as well. So it's not just a case of the monetary value in scaling. It's actually about trying to make a bit of a difference in the community. But there is that balance where you just need to switch off. So I think I am at the point can be quite direct. That get home and I'm cooking tea and the kids are running around and Sean's saying, "And what do you think about this and that?" And I say, "Can you just drop it? Can you just leave it and we'll catch up tomorrow?" And I think having more structured meetings has really helped. That now that we say, let's just drop that, let's put it on an issues list and we'll discuss that when we've got a scheduled meeting in the office for it, because this is home time now. So
as
well.
I'll just add to that. Obviously, we tried a lot of things. We've kind of brought in business coaches. We did the WOW program with Michelle Hoskin. We're currently working through AOS. So as the podcast continues, we'll kind of go through more of how we kind of improved that journey and took the burden and learned to delegate and learn to trust. And the work-life balance is a lot better now than what it was.
Yeah.
Great. And I think it's really, thanks for sharing that. And I think it's healthy to share that. I mean, I'm similar in the sense, I guess, of that burnout, and a lot of us don't talk about that, but it does happen. And especially, I know the focus when we're talking to you is in relation to scaling quickly, which you've done really well. And burnout is a natural part of that. So I think it's great that you're sharing that. So thank you. And what would you say has been the biggest challenge so far on the journey?
It's a difficult one because it's hard. What do you think to pinpoint one challenge?
I'd say there's two probably. It's probably been people and processes. I think they're probably the biggest things. So having originally the right people in the right seats. So I think talking back to, sort of when we started, Sean and I both had different hats. So we scaled quickly because we both were able to do everything. I started off originally as Sean's admin assistant and quickly became the person who did the income and Sean's PA. And then when we became DA, we were with the network at first, but when we actually became directly authorised, you find out there's an awful lot of compliance to do and, policies for this and procedures, reg data returns. So, but for us, I think it was making sure that we had the right people in the right seat, so we weren't wearing multiple hats and doing everything. So I think that was the first sort of thing to help us scale. And the second of all is the processes, because if you've got the people and your processes aren't really great, I think they fell down, at some stage, and they faced a few challenges of actually sitting down and mapping them out and making sure everybody knew exactly what they needed to be doing. So we were doing it the Lightside way. Our biggest challenges have probably been around the people and the processes.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because for some companies, creating demands and getting people to buy from them and sell their product or their service for a lot of businesses is the hard part. That's always been our strength, and it's always been the easy point, to the point where I'm not particularly great at saying no. I think in regard to onboarding too many clients and not being clear who our ideal client was at the beginning, we onboarded a lot of clients and we helped a lot of people. And this is probably where Lightside is quite unique and quite different, is we don't exist to just help millionaires or quarter of a millionaires. We kind of help your local average Joe client. And that served us really, really well, to the point where we helped so many people at the start, they then refer other people. But Vicky's right, we didn't have our foundations in place at the start. It was just me and Vicky could do everything. And you get to a point where you suddenly kind of go, right, we need to let go, we need to trust and delegate. And I think this is when we did the WOW program with Michelle Hoskin at Standard International. We did the British Standard in Operations and Management, and she called it the 8 Principles of WOW. And as you work through, we're like, that's where we've been going wrong. Our purpose was there, we had a bit of a plan. We kind of knew our vision further down the line. We knew how we wanted to grow by more. We knew we could easily grow. But then when we got to the people and the processes part, it really kind of struck home. And that's still a constant work in progress. We are working through EOS at the moment. So we've done the WOW program, which is the 8 principles of WOW. We've now read the book Traction, and we're now working through EOS, which is kind of the 6 principles. And again, that really bangs on about, have you got your vision? Yes, we have. Have you got the right people in the right seat? And have you got the right processes? Are you then bringing it all in and doing regular meetings and working through your issues? So I'd probably say maybe these last 3 to 6 months, everything has really started to gel together. Because we had a lot of clients, we had to review the clients on an ongoing basis. So it's like, hang on, have we got the resource to manage all these reviews? But we weren't doing much new business. We've now got focus here. We're doing a lot of new business, but we're also doing a lot of reviews as well. And we have actually scaled with a fairly new team in these last few months.
I think it's a really great point that you make there about, constantly evolving and adapting and reflecting on what are we doing? What have we done well? What do we need to change about ourselves, our business, our people? There's so many aspects to financial planning itself, but then also running a business and working with your partner. I can't imagine the stresses and strains that come from that, and how you create that more boundaried existence. I think what I'm really interested to know is around this idea of people and processes. You put a lot of emphasis there about that being a real sticking point that's now really moving things forward. What specifically do you think has really shifted in your perspective? Is it about culture? Is it about, how you're interacting with people? Is it about the onboarding process? Is it about, how you're running meetings, regular meetings with people, keeping on the same page? What is it that's really, been a shift for you?
I think the key thing is it's a combination. So what I do say to clients, similar to what I say to clients, fix a few little things makes a big difference. So to try and pinpoint on one is probably hard, but I think our induction process wasn't great, which we improved. I think our recruitment process wasn't great. We were using recruiters. Anybody who come in, I get on with a lot of people. So I always see the good in people and think, oh yeah, we'll give them a chance. The problem is I wasn't recruiting properly in regards to, are they the right person for that right seat? Have they got the relevant experience? Because we do work to very, very high standards. And then you end up disappointed thinking, oh, they haven't got the experience. So it's got to fall back on me and Vicky that when we have recruited the wrong people, they're not the bad people. They just weren't the right person for the right seat, or they just didn't kind of align with our values. So one thing we've kind of realized recently, and again, it's in the Traction book, you need to be very, very clear on what your company values are, which we are. But then when you recruit and you do your one-to-ones and you do your appraisals, you should be aligning all of your people in regards to your company values. Since we've started doing that, and a lot of our fairly new recruits, they've all come directly through LinkedIn. So we've done our own recruitment. And the people who apply are probably people that wouldn't have come through a recruiter. So we've got the recruitment stage a lot better. We're a lot better with the training. We're making all of the staff a lot more accountable. So there's a combination of things that we've kind of brought in. I'll let Vicky add a bit more to that.
Yeah, I think the communication is key between the team, and we've always had team meetings, but I think the team meetings weren't maybe as structured as what they are. So again, we have our level 10 meetings now, and they're much more structured with clear plans in place for people, and we've got the data, and everybody owns sort of a number, so they know exactly what it is they're looking to achieve. They're bought into the vision. So I think we have had a bit of a shift in culture, but I think, as Sean's just said, it's not just one thing. It's been a multitude of little things. It's getting 1% better in a lot of areas that come together to make us, it's improved overall.
I think the key thing on the culture there, it's not that the culture's changed, it's just we've communicated the culture better. Because I think in the past, we've probably been weak on our boundaries. So we've always known our culture is we're both very, very driven. It's very much a culture of continual improvement and work to a very, very high standard. We sweat the small stuff. I think when we've compromised on our own values and then we've recruited and we've kind of been a bit lax with our boundaries, that's when it's not worked. Yeah. But because we kind of look from hindsight that that's where it hasn't worked, it's about making sure we recruit the right people with the right cultures and the right values at the very, very beginning. And if it's a not sure, it should be a no. But there's been a lot over the last 7 years. There's been about, I'm not quite sure, but let's give them a chance. It's always ended up backfiring on us. So we've learned very much the hard way through our mistakes of how to recruit better, but also communicate the culture better. So making people accountable for the role that they're doing. and also making it clear that they know what their role is. Because another thing we've messed up on in the past is we might take an administrator on, but kind of go, oh, you're an administrator and a paraplanner, you wear both hats. Oh, by the way, you can do a bit of office management today.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hang on a minute, which role is it exactly am I doing? You've got me doing 3 roles, and then you're frustrated with me that I'm not doing one of them really, really well. So that comes back to the right person in the right seat, and then being absolutely clear what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Clara, you are part of a wider organisation in terms of Ovation. You're a financial planner there. How does what some of Sean and Vicki said resonate with you, and how you feel working as part of a team? And what has your experience been? What are some of the successes in your experience so far in your career in wider companies, and what do you think has been overlooked, that in the same way that perhaps Sean and Vicki did initially, that they're now readdressing?
Yeah, so it was quite interesting what you were saying about what led you to move on and start your own business. I very seriously considered it myself at one point before I met Ovation, and I joined up with them because of the values. And as you say, that's so important, because business is so much easier when you're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And, everything works better when you've all kind of got the same goals in mind. But yeah, I've definitely experienced where potentially the systems and processes aren't there, and where not everybody in the team is buying into the same sort of mission. So I can appreciate how difficult that must be. And it takes a long time to change a culture as well. And it's amazing all the stuff that you've been doing to try and fix that. So, I mean, can you talk more a little bit about how you found that translates into your clients and bringing them on? Do they understand the process of growth that you're going through?
Yeah, I think a good key point, and this is one thing I was quite frustrated with in regard to speaking to business coaches, thinking so many clients kind of have bought into me and kind of bought into the culture, and it's really, really high standard culture that kind of we really sweat the small stuff, that we've never had an issue with clients. We very, very rarely lose clients. When we onboard a client, our process is so refined in regards to the onboarding and integrating cash flow, and they get 2 free meetings. I think the issue is, obviously, when we've recruited people who don't kind of care as much as what me and Vicki do about the client, it's where it's not worked. But since we brought in EOS and we are recruiting in line with the values, we're all rowing in the same direction. I think, as Vicki mentioned, when we do our level 10 meeting on a Tuesday, which is a 90-minute team meeting, it's the same time, exactly the same agenda. It's really, really consistent. It is supposed to be the leadership team, but because we're a team of 7, we actually cover that level 10 meeting every Tuesday, the 90 minutes as a whole team. So we basically say to the team, we are going to be covering up some kind of in-depth stuff. Some of these conversations might be quite uncomfortable, but there's no point you not knowing and hearing it secondhand. So we're very, very open in our team meeting. We go through our data scorecard. We can all measure. So we all share the successes and the failures together. That's something we didn't do before. We used to have a team meeting, and it was just like, oh, sometimes we'd do it, sometimes we wouldn't. Sometimes we'd have an agenda, sometimes we wouldn't. But since we've been really, really consistent, and since we kind of do it as a team, we actually rate the effectiveness at the end. We actually say, how do we rate this out of 10? We're always getting anything between an 8, 9 and a 10. So we're rating it really, really high. But we do get honest feedback from the guys as well. If we've gone too fast or we've gone too high in the team meeting, we try and kind of break it down and really, really kind of scale it back. I think because me and Vicki work at a really fast pace, I think sometimes we have to be conscious that new team members coming in, they're not as experienced, they don't know our way of working as much as we do. We need to remind ourselves to slow it down and kind of really give that support to the guys.
Fantastic points there. And I actually think that's a really nice place for us to stop and just have a little break for a mo. So we'll be back in a second with Sean and Vicki. Hello, this is your interval for That NextGen Planners Podcast. I hope you are enjoying the conversation we are having at the moment. If you do want to find out any more information about our brilliant community, you can head over to www.nextgenplanners.co.uk to find out loads more information about all the things that we have going on. Also, if you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can do that on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. But yeah, for now, I'll hand back over to the guys to get on with the rest of the show.
Welcome back to the podcast. Just before the break, I was having a little think about a question I wanted to ask you, so I will ask you now. I was talking, before the break, you were talking about the Lightside way, which I really liked, and I thought should be, if it isn't already, part of your marketing, because it sounds amazing. But I'm really interested in the sort of the avatar of a typical client in the business. So what I'd like to know, if you don't mind sharing with me, is who is your typical client, if you have one?
The client base at the moment is quite broad. I think I mentioned in the last question, we grew really quickly at the start and we didn't really segment or kind of know our ideal client. When we did the WOW program with Michelle, she kind of said, you really need to kind of find your ideal client. So two things. When we rebranded to Lightside in 2020, during the pandemic, we were able to clarify what our ideal client looked like. And then obviously when we did the WOW program with Michelle, it also helped as well. So what kind of came to light was to find the master of midlife. It was all about finding these masters and grafters. Because the strapline for Lightside is fear-free financial planning, it was all about how do we kind of remove that barrier of somebody taking financial advice. Because we're kind of down to earth and kind of from working class backgrounds, we kind of thought, how do we find more of the client that will just relate to our culture and relate to our brand? So then it evolved a little bit to masters and grafters of midlife, naturally kind of self-employed or working class self-made millionaires, basically, would be our ideal clients. Now, the millionaire part doesn't really matter. We work really, really well with entrepreneurs because one of the things it says in our branding is grafters, no grafters, because we work really, really hard. Obviously, very, very driven business. Kind of thought if you find people similar to you, you can really, really relate to them. However, we have got a wide range of clients. We've got right across, but I think the average is probably about 45 to 55 is where we add the value, either approaching retirement, may have a business of their own, making big company contributions. I'm 44. So again, any opportunity I can have where I can advise somebody like me, I find it really, really, really easy. So
yeah, I think the average age actually in our client bank when we've done due diligence and look recently is 53. So it's a fairly young client bank really. And I think our brands and appeals to not everybody. So some people look at it and think I want a more corporate approach. I want to go into a big office somewhere and see somebody with a suit and a briefcase, whereas those type of clients probably aren't suited to us. We are more down to earth. We still are, striving for excellence and expertise, but it's definitely more of a lighter feel, sort of no judgment when people come in and more of a down to earth feel.
Yeah, and that was intentional. When we did rebrand to Lightside, the company that we used intentionally try and make you stand out. So I actually did an accelerated growth program with Edge Hill University recently, and the lady who ran it, she said our branding split the room. She said half the room absolutely loved it and half of them absolutely hated it. It was more the older people who were a bit more corporate really didn't like it. And I said, I'm glad you've said that because our branding is intentionally not to appeal to everyone. We know the potential staff and the potential clients who come to us, if they've looked at the website, they will just get it. They'll know that they'll come in and there'll be no suit. They know that it'll be this really relaxed, down-to-earth approach. They'll know that we're a chartered business, but the quality of the advice and how meaningful the financial planning is in regards to the lifestyle planning, the goals. I do a bit of financial coaching. So somebody who's coming in who might have been born into the money, kind of might want a corporate approach, might want to go to the likes of, say, James's Place or Investec or Quilter. They might have a substantial amount of money. Don't get me wrong, we have got some higher net worth clients, but we just know the clients that fit into our segmentation a lot better than what we did when we started.
Fab. And I'll kick this one off, but I'm going to sort of go towards Claire on this one in terms of your employees. So you and I both run businesses that are directly authorized. I'm very, very small and only have another member of staff. You have a team. And what's really hard, and we touched upon it earlier, is this is your business and you love your business because it's yours and I love mine. How do you get your staff to buy into that? How do you get them to love your business or love being part of your business? And then Claire, I'll pass over to you afterwards to talk about that a bit more.
Do you answer this one?
Yeah, I think just by being open with the staff, Sean and I sort of communicate well, and I think they understand how important it is to us. I think they understand the core values. We mentioned earlier we've recruited in line with the core values, so our staff members sort of understand what it is we're trying to achieve. They know our vision. We have a 2030 vision, which we've mapped out and we've scaled it back, and we redo that vision and communicate it with the team every year. We look at quarterly rocks and quarterly goals. So everybody sort of knows the projects that are in the firm and that are really important to us, the big projects, but also the small stuff that's really important to us. So I think the team buy in because we communicate it well. I think previously, if you would have asked us a few years ago, maybe we weren't as strong as that and we've got better. But I think it's really important to just share what's in our heads really with the team, so they're all on the same page.
I think the other factor is since the pandemic, we've got back to having more team days out. So we've had the team golf day. We went to the Crystal Maze in Manchester. We obviously always have Christmas do. So we try and kind of make it enjoyable. But I think the guys know that it's very much we work hard and then we can play hard as well. We have an annual charity ball. One of our clients has got a breast cancer charity that she does. And she does a ball every year, which we all go to. So we try and kind of make sure we do things together as a team as well. I think the key thing is we've introduced a data scorecard. So the data that we discuss on the level 10 meeting, everybody in the team has a number. So somebody will have a number say, you're responsible for overdue reviews. You're responsible for how many expiration meetings did we have last week. You're responsible for outstanding consents. You're responsible for how many clients are using our secure portal. So every staff member has a number that they're accountable for. And when we discuss it as a team on a Tuesday, we can actually see across the data scorecard, look, we had a brilliant week last week. Sean delivered on the sales. Such and such delivered on booking the reviews in, but we know that we're all responsible for that alignment of all making it work. If one area drops down, we record it as an issue and go, okay, what do we need to do to kind of get the overdue reviews booked in? But we don't put it all on that one person. We fix the issues as a team, but we're all accountable for a certain part of the business, which was a key thing we introduced recently.
Yeah, at Ovation, we're very similar in the sense that everybody has a very clearly defined role. And because we are employee owned as well, everybody sort of feels responsible for that outcome. We're all invested in the success of the business. And having those clearly defined roles really helps people know what they need to do. But also, if they notice that area of the business is struggling in some way, we can all jump in and offer help and really support each other. I've got a question because a little birdie told me that you look after 250 clients. Obviously, there's the age-old debate of how many clients is the right number. How do you feel about that, and how does your team support you to manage that many?
Yeah, to be honest, it's probably double that. It's probably about.
Oh dear.
And you may worry and think, oh, alarm bells are ringing. It's probably about 450 households, and we're very, very aware of that. So we have got an associate planner who's just started with us who very much aligns with the company values. We've had previous advisors that didn't work for whatever reason. But I think any time it's kind of, because I'm not very good at saying no and we didn't know our right type of ideal client at the start, we don't necessarily disengage clients. We just found a way to give a lighter touch service. So we are kind of now using AI. We do video calls. Clients will update their fact finds in the portal. Clients are really, really engaged. And some would argue, oh, you're obviously not giving them a great service. I'd probably argue that we're over-servicing some of those clients. They all get a live buoyant cash flow plan when we update the review. I think what we've tried to really focus on now under Consumer Duty is those lower value clients below 250k or even below 100 grand is kind of going. It's a phone call, it's a video call once a year. We're trying not to do as much for the lower value, but we're still trying to add value. Because if a client had 300 grand 5 years ago and now they're down to 100, we think it's unfair to suddenly go, oh, you've not got enough now. We're going to disengage you. They've been loyal clients. They've been introducers of other clients. That's been our biggest challenge, is servicing that amount of clients really, really well. But this is where the quality of the support team, the quality of our processes, bringing another associate planner in. I think the other key thing is we do it as a team approach. On every single meeting now, we either have the associate planner or we have one of the support staff in. Because I don't like the admin, I don't like the fact finds. Either we'll record the meeting on AI or we'll have somebody sitting on the meeting. I can just go back-to-back meeting and just obviously speak with the client. All the administration, the review letters, all the follow-up stuff, that's all kind of done by the support team. And that's where we've strengthened things. I think it's working really, really well.
Yeah. Wow. So are you using AI in your meetings?
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah. It's going well. So we trialed Planner Pal. We're now trialing Saturn. They're both kind of very similar. You can record it on your phone. If it's a video call, you can record it. It records all of the meeting notes and kind of some action points there. And you've got it with Saturn, you've got to check it. You've got to check and go, hang on, that's not quite right. It hasn't heard what I've said correctly. So they both have pros and cons. But I think for me, it was an absolute godsend I think for regards to me not having to scribble down loads of notes on paper, which creates a bit of a barrier, then to update those notes into the electronic fact-finding intelligence office. If I bring someone in every meeting, that person's then not doing any admin or doing any report writing in the back. So we kind of thought there's got to be a better way. I can't just keep recruiting more people to sit in on my meetings. It's not a great use of resource. So the AI is that next step that we're trialing at the minute to go. As long as the meeting notes are recorded, they're accurate, you can check them. Obviously, it's learning all the time. We then upload the AI recorded meeting notes, send it across to the guys, and they then update the fact find and send the review letter. But to be honest with you, for me and the pace that I work at, it's been an absolute godsend.
So you managed to get to 500 families in 6-7 years?
Yeah.
That's really impressive. Tell us about the journey for how you did that.
Okay, so at the start, we kind of say day one, I started with very few clients. I had a couple of clients that kind of came with me after the covenants from the previous firm. They found me on LinkedIn. Mostly what we've done is usually lead resource companies. So I think it might have been lead tech. The problem with lead tech, you obviously can't guarantee the quality of the lead, but I was always of the view you can help anyone and everyone with some form of valuable piece of advice. So the leads you'd buy, I think I spent £5,000 on the first set of leads, which bought me 50 leads. Of those 50 leads, let's say that then converted from £5,000 that pays out for it. Let's say convert out the 50 leads, maybe 10 into clients, maybe 15 into clients. Those 15 clients then became, let's say, maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 grand's worth of initial fee income. The recurring income is then starting to build and then increase the leads. And it was like, okay, by 20 leads a month, I was ringing the lead. On average, I was probably having about 10 to 15 meetings a week at the very beginning. A lot of them at the time were face-to-face. So we ring them in, get them in the diary, drive to see them, sign LOAs, and then we then progress it through. I was under the network at first. I was under LJ Financial Planning, who are now Corbell Partners over in Warrington. They had a paraplanning team. They had, obviously, administration support. It was just me and Vicky and a couple of support staff at the start. But it was literally all about new business. I would literally 10 to 15 potential new clients every single week. Let's say maybe on average 3 to 5 of them would sign up as new business. I was averaging, some months it was like 20 to 30 new clients being onboarded. You compound that over the first 3 years, you're obviously doing a lot of new business. The issue that we had a lot of clients and not all of them were what you'd probably argue are the right type of clients. But they were all clients that got value. They were all paying an ongoing advice fee. Those clients were then starting to refer other clients. So as well as buying leads through lead tech, obviously vouched for, we were getting leads coming through. We were then getting natural referrals. As we kind of grew organically, we were then getting local solicitors and accountants. We probably reached that point about maybe kind of year 4 and thought something needs to change because we weren't doing the reviews properly. And then we thought, right, okay, we need to focus on doing the reviews. So we were doing more reviews, less new business. But then when we were doing really, really good, valuable reviews, we introduced Lifestyle Financial Planning. We introduced Using Buoyant, and then did a financial coaching course through Catherine Morgan. So every year it's been this evolution of kind of how can we get better? What can we do differently? Right? We've still got all these clients. These clients are still recommending other clients. We weren't even trying to grow, and we just kind of some weeks we're getting like 5 to 7 new inquiries a week, and it was just me. As I said, because I'm not great at saying no. we just found a way to kind of fit it in. This is what I said before. I nearly got close to burnout. We bought a business in August 2022, and it went really, really well. So it was a small client bank. It was about 75 households. Average client size was a lot higher than what we already had. I think the view was let's acquire this small business, but let them maybe start to disengage some of the lower value clients.
We had some with some, yeah.
We have where we're not adding value, but this is people with maybe 20, 30 grand, they bought an annuity, but very, very rare that we do disengage a lower value client. So this is where we've had to improve the process, scale the team, bring an associate financial planner. I had to get better at letting go. I had to start kind of going. It doesn't matter whether the client sees me or the associate planner, it's a team approach. So very much these joint meetings with another staff member, the handover was then happening to say, listen, you've got access to me. You've also got access to Phil. There's going to be times when I'm on holiday. It's just important you've always got access to one of the team. And clients are really, really happy. We are now considering another acquisition, which I'm in discussions with at the moment. We have got other advisors in the pipeline. The risk that we've got is we don't want to scale too fast. If we kind of grow too quickly and the team are too new, you haven't given them time to bed them in. So Vicky reminds me quite a lot. slow down.
Yeah. And if I can just sort of add in there, I think that it answers your question. That sort of beginning journey was based upon activity. I think there's not many advisors, and we've recruited advisors in the past, and we need to meet with people who can cope with that amount of appointments in the diary and the activity. So Sean was very good at going out networking in the beginning, building up solicitors and accountants, and we were very fortunate after that first 3 years of building up a client bank. I think we built up in the first 2 or 3 years about 50, 60 million just from buying leads and onboarding new clients. It was only when we started thinking more about the strategy in maybe year 4 that we then started going, we don't really need these leads anymore. And we sort of turned them off. And all of our clients have now come from referrals or accountants and solicitors. And as she said, we've had an acquisition, as on the back of that as well. So it's, activity, I think, creates demand. It's the more that you see, the more that come back. And we're in a very fortunate position now where we get clients probably getting 5, 6 new inquiries a week, and we don't even know where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's a nice position to be in, and
it is. It's a hard position to be in, but I think where we've changed the process at the start, a new inquiry comes through. I just discovery call, so it's like a 15-20 minute meeting. Tell me a little bit about you, and again, the same situation applies. We kind of go, okay, do I think I can add value? Is it worth progressing it to a face-to-face meeting? Most of the time it still does, because I make it very, very clear that we now charge for a financial plan. So it used to be very much product led at the beginning. You need a pension, let's set you up a pension. You need to go into drawdown, let's set you up into drawdown. We introduced a flat fee probably a couple of years ago now. So for a financial plan is $2,500. So if we do take a client on under the lower value end, we kind of only take them on if they're engaged with a financial plan. So it could be a cash flow plan, a full report. The key thing we're looking at is to answer those big questions. Can I put the kids through uni? Can I move house? Can I afford to retire? Will I have enough? What's my relationship with money like? If we get those 3 or 4 big questions, we then let the client decide, do they think it's worth $2,500 to get the answers to those big questions? So I think that kind of screens out the clients who don't want to pay the fee. It kind of gets them out. But because we still add value at those first 2 free sessions without spending a lot of time, if I've got 3 or 4 discovery calls a week, it's only 2 hours. It's 2 hours on a video call, either at home or in the office. If somebody else in the team is also sitting on the meeting, they'll send them the risk profile questionnaire to complete. They will also send them the access to the portal to onboard themselves. Then I'll go and see them in person if I think it's worthwhile. So again, all these processes and all these efficiencies with time have all kind of evolved. This is where you then bring AI into the picture. There's a further evolution. You could go, okay, is there capacity to take on even more clients? But realistically, I am servicing too many clients, which is something that we're dealing with at the moment.
Well, that brings me kind of on to my final question for you, really, in terms of, you talked about speaking with clients and defining what's enough for them. What's enough for you? So I'd like to know, my question really is, do you have differing ideas as to where the business should end up, or are you aligned on that?
I'll go first and let Vicki answer, because I think where I never used to know before, I'd say I'm there. I think because I've already reached and surpassed where I ever could imagine the business to get to, only from going on the retreat, the Men with That Master retreat 18 months ago, and kind of doing a lot of work on myself. I'll do a lot of meditation. Obviously, I've started martial art. I kind of don't prioritize work as much as I used to. So now, because there's less of a pressure to get it to a certain point, now for me, it's as long as I'm enjoying it, it will go wherever it will go. Like if we stop today or we sold the business today, it's far more than what we ever could have imagined. So now that pressure and that burden is gone, it's about remembering that as long as we're enjoying it, as long as we're giving good outcomes to clients, we're enough is already enough. Vicki, I don't know what your thoughts are.
Exactly. The same, really. I think that for me, as long as we're enjoying it and we're adding value, and we've sat down sometimes and thought, oh, is it enough? And at times you've had struggles with sort of scaling and staff and people and processes, and you think, oh, we've got enough now. You could sell up, and then you look at the competition out there and you think, is anyone doing it as good as us? And in the local area, there's definitely not. And you think, will it be a disservice to clients, disservice to even people in the industry, the next gen coming through, if there wasn't a business like us around to be able to support the next sort of intake coming through, and for clients, because we know that we sweat the small stuff and we're doing it the right way. So in line with Sean, as long as we're still enjoying it and we feel like we're adding value to the financial planning community and clients, and we're enjoying getting out of bed in the morning, saying, "Yeah, I still really want to do this." I think we'll continue, and that could be for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I suppose the big challenge for me now, or the next step of the journey for me now, is this not being relied on as the financial planner. So the evolution now is for me to mentor associate planners, bring them through, bring the team through. I would love to be kind of mentoring people, but because I've been so busy, I know that where things have fallen down previously is I can't service 400 clients and train people and recruit and acquire businesses. So now it's this starting to go, okay, let's reduce the clients that I service. Let's still be a part of the vision, the culture, and everything else. So this is that next step that we're on now. We've brought one associate planner in who's a really, really good fit for the team. We are looking for more. They do need to be chartered because obviously we want to retain our chartered status. I'm confident that the next generation that come through that you guys obviously are aware of are either chartered or working towards chartered. So this raising the industry standards is probably one of our biggest why. Let's create positive change in the industry. Now, you can't do it all on your own. So how do you then scale that to a level where you maintain standards, but you support the next generation coming through? And I think that's where I'm at now. And that's my big work. And that's my big development area now.
Brilliant. I mean, thank you so much for being so candid and honest about your experiences and even some of your failures, which I think is very big to be able to come forward and say, look, this is something that we've recognised we need to improve on, and doing that and reflecting on you as individuals and the journey that you've taken. So it's been a really interesting discussion. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your thoughts with us. And thank you very much to my two brilliant co-hosts.
Thank you.
What a great discussion.
Thanks, Sean and Vicki.
And thank you to everybody else out there for listening. We'll be back next time with another brilliant guest here on That NextGen Planners Podcast.